We got shirts on sale. Express your Eeveelution and starter Pokemon love by buying an Eeveelution family shirt and Which One starter shirt. Link will be in the description below. Steel typing got over 500 votes on the first day. Like, holy, I don't even know what to say. You guys are loving this series. Steel typing is an awesome typing though. It definitely isn't my favorite, but some of my favorite Pokemon do stem from this typing. Like always, I'm going to be giving my opinions on all of the Pokemon on their designated typing. I don't really dislike any Steel Pokemon, so this list should be relatively smooth. Every Pokemon will be given an opinion, all Mega Evolutions and forms included. At the end of the video, be sure to comment what typing you want to see next, and whatever typing gets the most upvotes will be next week's typing. Alrighty though, with that being said, let's hop right into my Steel type opinions. Just like with the Ice types video, we're starting off with Alolan Sandshrew. Again, I find it very adorable with how they made it look like an igloo, and being the first Ice and Steel Pokemon was a pretty big surprise too. Again, Alolan Sandslash is pretty cool. His design is pretty edgy looking and reminds me of Sonic the Hedgehog. Don't really have much else to say about it. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the Alolan Diglett line. I don't really hate the design like a lot of other people do, however, I don't really think it's the best looking either. However, I can say that I do appreciate the lore behind it and its typing, being based off of Pele's hair. Pele's hair is strands of volcanic glass that have stretched away from molten lava, which is often rich in magnesium and iron, hence the Steel typing. I gotta say, I find that really cool and it makes me like the line just a little bit more. There's not much else I can say about Alolan Dugtrio that I haven't already said about Diglett. I'm not the hugest fan of it, but the fact that it has some pretty Hawaiian-centric lore makes me like it just a tad more than I normally would. I guess I'll admit that it's pretty fun that each Dugtrio head has its own style of hair. Oh hey, a magnet Pokemon. This is pretty cool. Great concept. I have always really enjoyed Magnemite, as I used to play with magnets all the time as a kid. Wow, 3 Magnemite? Dude, nice. For real though, not a big fan of the design, but I mean using Tri-Attack with it kind of looks cool. Man, I got some fun stories about Forretress for you guys. I used to run Forretress all the time in competitive Generation 5. I would just sit there and set up spikes and stealth rocks the entire time. I had no creativity with leading off with any other Pokemon. I only led off with Forretress, and I would rinse and repeat, and at the end I would just use Explosion. I got lucky a few times with using Forretress as a lead, but the majority of the time it backfired where I would get KO'd immediately. Backfired, literally. I always wanted to use one in Generation 2, but the Metal Coat wasn't obtainable until late game, which was super unfortunate. I never wanted to use an Onix until the very end of Johto because I thought it was weak due to its 4 times weakness to grass and water. Steelix has an incredible design though, and it's definitely in my top 3 favorite Steel types. I think Steelix needed a Mega Evolution, and I really like the design for this. Game Freak did a great job creating Mega Steelix, and seeing Brock use one in the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime was also a super cool treat to see. Scizor has to be one of my favorite bug-type Pokemon of all time. The dual typing of Bug and Steel is one of the most awesome combinations we have ever been introduced to. Scizor, fun fact, was actually the first Pokemon I competitively bred. I have always loved it. It just sucks I couldn't use it on my Johto teams because of how late you got the Metal Coat once again. Scizor, even without its Mega, is still really powerful as is. I prefer Scizor's original design over its Mega, but I love the fact that the Technician ability stuck to it. Skarmory is my second favorite Steel type Pokemon, and holy cow is this design freaking sleek. It's a Steel type bird for crying out loud, an armored bird, like how dope is that? Not to mention Skarmory is also an amazing Pokemon in the competitive scene, being able to sweep hazards away and set up multiple ones as well. Whenever I do OU battling, I always have Skarmory on my team because of how reliable it is. Mawile is so terrifying and precious at the same time. If you guys actually look into the lore of it, you will learn to appreciate the terror behind it. To make it brief, it's based around the Japanese legend of the Fudakuchiona, a woman with a mouth in the back of her head. It's a pretty terrifying read, but I love it because of that specific reasoning. Oh, I should also mention, Mawile is my favorite Steel type Pokemon. My god, was Mega Mawile broken when it first came out. I remember it was in the Ubers tier back in the days of Pokemon X and Y. Going into its design though, I appreciate it a lot more as it goes further into the origin of the Fudakuchiona. Mega Mawile may not be my favorite Mega Evolution, but it is definitely up there. I've always wanted to use one on my Generation 3 team, but whenever I would capture it, I would get so annoyed because I thought leveling it up was always super hard. Plus it also evolved so late, and that really annoyed me. Every time I look at Lairon, I think of the Helmasaur monsters in The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. They would just charge at you, and you would have to remove their helmets. I don't know what it is, but Lairon literally reminds me of them. As I am typing this, I have an Aggron on my Pokemon Emerald Randomizer Nuzlocke going on Twitch. You should go follow me on there. It's been fun to use so far, and I think its defense is absolutely fantastic. Super excited to see how far this Pokemon's going to go. I always forget Mega Aggron is actually a pure Steel type Pokemon. I've never seen a more defensive Pokemon than Mega Aggron as well. I've used it as a wall before, but quite frankly, it didn't do as well as I thought it did. I prefer using Registeel in all honesty. Beldum has such a stupid catch rate. Whenever I run into it, I almost never am able to capture it, even if I have Ultra Balls. Don't get me wrong, I love Beldum, I just wish capturing it was a lot easier. Then again, it also is a pseudo-legendary Pokemon, so I guess it does make sense. I always forget to acknowledge Metang. To be honest, I like its design, but I just forget about it. Metagross is one of my favorite pseudo-legendary Pokemon. It was a pseudo-legendary that really took everyone by surprise because it wasn't your typical dragon Pokemon that came to be. I love the aspect of how it's just a floating, robotic kind of monster. I love the design of Mega Metagross, but I don't think Metagross particularly needed a Mega. The only distinct trait I can remember about Registeel was its Pokemon Platinum sprite. That always disturbed me, and it's also really good and competitive too, one of my favorite Steel-type Pokemon to run. My favorite mythical Pokemon. I have always wanted the soft reset for its shiny form, but I've never been able to. Teach me your ways. Empoleon is really interesting, as I'm not really sure why it's still a type. Don't get me wrong, water still is a cool type combination, especially for a starter Pokemon, but I just feel the water-ice would have made more sense for a penguin Pokemon. Regardless, Empoleon is pretty cool, and definitely not a bad water starter Pokemon. I don't really care for this fossil duo, however I will say Shieldon is pretty cute. However, that changes abruptly with Bastiodon. Oh my god, this thing is ugly as hell. It's not really a bad Pokemon at all, but it's just so hard to look at. You ever hear the phrase, a face only a mother could love? Well, that phrase exists for cases like Bastiodon. Sorry, bud. I don't really care about any of the Wormadon forms, to be honest. The concept is cool for sure, but I just think they're okay at best. Mothim, though, however, is adorable. Bronzong is pretty cute and I love its origin. I have a few theories on this line if you all want to know a little bit more about their lore. However, the theories are a little bit more centered around Bronzong, which makes sense since it is the last in the line. Bronzong also has the deepest lore, so again, I'd really recommend checking these videos out as reading a little bit about this Pokemon. I promise you won't be disappointed. I used to hate Lucario a lot. I thought it was an overrated piece of junk and whatnot. I like it a lot more nowadays though. I found it really awesome in Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, which I actually watched around last year. I find its attitude and demeanor super great. It's not a pseudo-legendary Pokemon, but definitely comes off as one. Mega Lucario is really broken in a competitive sense, like, holy cow. I enjoy using Mega Lucario a lot, especially running Swords Dance and just going in for the sweep. I also really appreciate the design. It makes Lucario look more like a warrior. Magnezone fully redeems the problems I had with Magneton by having a super interesting design. The other Magnemite just kind of fuse into its body and take on this awesome UFO look. It's pretty great. You're disgusting and I wonder who in the heck created you. You were the result of a hangover. That has to be the reason. I really like Dialga a lot, especially Primal Dialga in the Mystery Dungeon series. Maybe we'll get Primal forms in the eventual Sinnoh remakes and they'll take inspiration from those games. Who knows? We saw Heatran last week, so the opinion is going to be the exact same. I think its dual typing of Fire and Steel is pretty sick, and it's really interesting that it's the only legendary that can either be male or female. Excadrill has always been a fun Pokemon to use and competitive for me. In Generation 5, I would used to run Sand teams with the Sand Rush ability, and I was able to get double speed and completely knock trainers out left and right. It's also a pleasure to be able to use this baby on a best team. I think Excavalier is pretty cool, stealing Shelmet's shell for protection. Apparently the bug that the line is based on does this in real life, so it's actually pretty neat. Don't have much to say about Ferroseed, it's just an edgier Pineco to be honest. I don't know what it is, but I just really find Ferrothorn's design to be super cool. It's also super good and competitive, despite its quite weakness to fire. Oh hey, cool, a gear Pokemon, this is a neat concept. Wait a second, I see what's going on here. Oh come on, Game Freak. I love this little pawn a lot. I recently did a video speculating what a branched evolution for Pawniard might look like and play like. You all should definitely go check that out after this video. Bisharp is so much fun to use and is a beast. This line always reminds me of how much I want to learn how to play chess. Maybe one day. I actually really love Durant a lot. The Golden State Warriors are my favorite basketball team and he's one of the best players in the game. Also, I don't really watch basketball, but the Golden State Warriors are pretty cool. Oh, we're talking about Pokemon still? Yeah, Durant is pretty cool too, I guess. I don't have too much of an opinion on Cobalion. I definitely think it's one of the better Swords of Justice and has a pretty shiny. That's all I have to really say about it. Genesect is a pretty cool mythical Pokemon. I really like how it turns into a little UFO when it's flying. I also love the theory that the actual Pokemon Team Plasma experimented to make Genesect is Kabutops. It's a possessed sword and is really awesome, enough said. I know I may talk crap about Pokemon that literally just double or triple up, but I will say Dewblade is pretty cool even though it's just 2 swords. Like I said last time, this Pokemon better make an appearance in Sword and Shield. It would just be such a huge missed opportunity if Game Freak didn't add this line in. Also, its shiny is sick. I'm gonna need to hunt for it in the future. Klefki is just plain adorable. I've seen a lot of people hate on this Pokemon, whether it's from people saying its design is trash or that it's annoying and competitive. I honestly feel bad for it because it just seems to get more hate than love. Well, I love you, Klefki. You have one of the best type combinations in the game, you're pretty fun to use and competitive in my opinion, and your lore being based off of pagan mythological creatures that steal small objects, such as keys, is pretty cool. There's just so much good about you, and hopefully one day everyone else will see it too. Togedemaru isn't my favorite of the Pikachu clones, but it's not that bad by any means. Even though it's not used competitively very often, I will say that its Zip Zap move can be annoying at times, and it's actually pretty solid. Also, the love that Sophocles' Togedemaru has for Ash's Pikachu is pretty adorable, but not excuse binary. Now, even though I like Lunala more than Solgaleo, I still have to say that I like Solgaleo a lot. He's such a ferocious lion with a pretty decent design, and the lore of why it's a psychic steel type is just brilliant. Celesteela isn't one of my favorite Ultra Beasts by any means, however I will say its lore is actually surprisingly deep. It's based off of Princess Kaguya from the Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, as well as the Japanese spacecraft Selene, which is also nicknamed after Princess Kaguya. With that in mind, Celesteela's crazy bamboo rocket ship design makes so much more sense and definitely makes it one of the more interesting Ultra Beasts in my book. I like Cortana a lot because of its origami origins. I really do love origami and wish I didn't suck at doing it. Maybe one day I'll actually get good. I don't like it as much as Dawnwing's Necrozma, but the Duskmane form isn't bad at all. It reminds me a lot of Liger Zero from Zoid, so that's pretty cool, I guess. Magearna is a really neat mythical Pokemon. It's based off of Karakuri puppets, which are mechanical Japanese dolls. I remember Birdkeeper Toby actually did a theory video on it potentially being the guardian of the Ether Paradise. That really would have been a sick and awesome concept if that had been the case. Other than that, it's really cool having a really solid black shiny form, and then its original Pokeball color form. We haven't actually got that form of Magearna yet officially, so hopefully we do in the future. I'd really hate to see it get the AZ's Floette treatment. That would be really, really bad. Stakataka is pretty interesting to say the least. It reminds me a lot of Tin Tower and Necrotic City. I think its design is a lot more suited for a game like Zelda than it is for Pokemon. Although I guess it's doing a fine job as an Ultra Beast, looking really wild and nothing like a Pokemon at all. So the Meltan line is probably two of the most interesting Pokemon on this list. We first saw Meltan after Niantic updated Pokemon Go, which led to people thinking it was a placeholder for Kekland, or they just straight up leaked a Generation 8 Pokemon by accident. Both of these assumptions were incorrect actually, as it was actually on purpose. It was for the special research event they were beginning, and the fact that it ended up being the last of the Generation 7 Pokemon. It was one of the craziest things to happen when it came to revealing a Pokemon by far. A lot of people were calling it a Ditto ripoff and lazy, but honestly I found it pretty cute. It's got its little floating eyeball, loves eating metal, and has a little wire for its tail. Although it's really strange that it's only steel type rather than stone electric. But then the most shocking thing ever happened, and that was the fact that Meltan could evolve. Gen 7 really brought us a lot of things out of left field. First we get evolving legendary Pokemon, but now we have evolving mythicals as well. I think it's safe to say that anything we can safely expect from Pokemon going forward is just thrown out the window. Now I'm not as big of a fan as Melmetal as I am of Meltan, but I still think it's cool nonetheless. I actually haven't had a chance to get one yet just because of how hard it is to obtain. You have to evolve Meltan in Pokemon Go with 400 Meltan candy, which is not easy by any means. I hope they can retcon the evolution method going forward, because I would really like to be able to use this mod when Pokemon Sword and Shield come out. Well, that pretty much wraps up my opinions on all the Steel-type Pokemon. Aside from the gear designs and of course Probopass, I don't really dislike any Steel-type Pokemon. They're all pretty cool with some great origins and competitiveness behind them. What are your favorite Steel-types though? Let me know in the comments below, as well as the typing you guys want me to cover next. As always, the typing with the most upvotes in the comments will be the one I cover next. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream a lot of Pokemon content and all kinds of other content like Nintendo, Borderlands, and much more. Want to support me further and gain cool perks? Check out my Patreon. Fly Jubilee, Daniel Leone, Lady Crimson, Pal491, The Lazy Leo, Matthew Young, Awesome Lego, and Jarrett Weezausted. I want to thank them personally for going above and beyond. It means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mr. Gumbrand, and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.